There are places in this world where the veil between the living and the unseen is as thin as morning mist, where rivers whisper secrets, winds carry voices, and some say spirits walk like men, cloaked in mystery and longing. In one such village, cradled between the forest and the river, lived a girl named Adana. Beautiful, curious, and brave-hearted, she often wandered where others feared to step. And one day, by the river's edge, she met a stranger, a man unlike any other. A man with eyes that mirrored the sky and steps that left no print on the earth. They say love is blind. But what happens when love sees beyond this world? This is the story of Adana, the girl who fell in love with a spirit. In the heart of a warm and whispering land where tall grasses swayed like dancers and the river curled around the village like a serpent of silver, there lived a girl named Adana. She was not like the other girls, where they giggled by the fireside and wove baskets with steady hands. Adana would sit by the river for hours, watching her reflection ripple with the current. Her mind wandered like the wind, far beyond the village, past the hills, and into stories only the trees knew. Adana's mother called her dream heavy. Her father sighed, the river has stolen her thoughts again. But the old women who sat under the baobab tree shook their heads. She listens too closely to the water, they warned. And the river listens back. Adana didn't care. The river was her friend. It never judged her for her questions, never asked her to be more like the others. Every morning before the sun rose too high, she would walk barefoot through the dew-wet grass, singing softly to herself. And every evening, as the shadows grew long, she'd return to the water's edge, humming lullabies her grandmother once taught her. It was on such an evening, when the moon was shy and the mist curled low, that she first saw him. He stood across the river, still as a tree, wrapped in a robe that shimmered like starlight. His face was beautiful, but strange, ageless, smooth, and solemn. His eyes were pale, glowing faintly, like they held memories older than time. Adana blinked. Was he real? The man tilted his head slightly, as if hearing her thoughts. But when she stepped closer, her foot slipping on a wet stone, he vanished. Just like that. Gone, she ran to the spot where he stood. No footprints, no sign of movement. Only silence and the cold breath of wind that brushed her cheeks. That night, Adana couldn't sleep. She tossed beneath her woven blanket, staring at the thatched ceiling above. Who was he? A traveler, a trick of the mist. The next day, she returned, and the next, and the next. For weeks, she came to the river, heart beating fast with hope, until one morning, just as the dawn kissed the water, he returned. This time, he stood closer. This time, he spoke. "Why do you sing to the river?" he asked, his voice like a breeze through reeds. Adana froze. No man had ever spoken to her like that. Not with such softness, not with such wonder. "I don't sing to the river," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I sing with it." The man smiled. And in that moment, the world around them seemed to hold its breath. "What is your name?" she asked. He hesitated. "I have many names," he said, "but you may call me Obina." Obina, she whispered, tasting the word like honey. From that day forward, they met often, only at dawn, only by the river, and never did he cross it. Adana spoke of her dreams, of the stars she watched from her hut's rooftop, of her loneliness among people who didn't understand her. Obina listened with eyes that drank in every word, but still he never touched the water. And he never stepped beyond the mist. One day, she asked, "Why do you only meet me here?" Obina looked toward the forest. His expression darkened like a cloud before rain. "Because this is where your world meets mine," he said, "and some borders are not easily crossed." That night, Adana's dreams were filled with rivers that glowed, skies that opened, and a man who whispered her name in languages she had never heard. She woke with her heart pounding and her soul already in love. Days turned into weeks, and the river became a sacred meeting place. Adana no longer wondered if Obina was real. He was as real as the wind that played in her braids, as real as the longing that bloomed in her chest. He never grew older. His skin remained smooth, untouched by time. His presence, calm and knowing, stirred something ancient inside her. "Where do you go when the sun rises?" she asked one morning as the first light began to break. "I go where the sun cannot follow." He replied, "Do you live in the forest?" He shook his head slowly. "I live in the place between breaths, between beats of a heart. A world beside yours." Adana stared at him, trying to understand, but his words slipped through her fingers like sand. Still, she believed him. Somehow, she knew he was not like any man of flesh and blood. "Are you, spirit?" she asked at last. Obina smiled gently, and though he said nothing, his silence spoke the truth. A spirit, a man not of her world. And yet, she loved him. At night, her village whispered with gossip. She wanders too far. She speaks to shadows. She is bewitched. Her father scolded her. A man who hides in the mist is not a man to trust. Her mother wept. "You will bring shame upon our home." Even the elders, those who rarely spoke unless the sky cracked with thunder, summoned her. They sat in the dark of the hut, the air thick with herbs and smoke. One of them, her grandmother's sister, leaned forward. "Child," she rasped, "we know who you speak with. He is not of our world. Spirits are not meant to love mortals. They bring madness and misfortune." Adana bowed her head, but said nothing. How could she explain that her heart had chosen already? That night, she returned to the river. Obiena stood waiting, wrapped in his glowing robes, his eyes soft with sorrow. "They know," she said. He nodded. "Will you leave me now?" she asked. Obina stepped closer. "Do you want me to?" Adana searched his face. There was no malice in it, no deception, only love, strange, quiet, and deep. "No," she said. "I don't want you to leave." He raised his hand, hesitated, then gently brushed her cheek. His touch was cool, like morning mist, but it made her shiver with warmth. "I cannot stay long in your world," he said. "It drains me, but for you, I will return again and again, as long as you wait for me." And so she waited. Each dawn, each dusk, through the seasons of rain and heat, Adana came to the river. Sometimes they spoke. Sometimes they simply sat, hands barely touching, eyes locked. She learned about his realm, a place where time slept, and songs had color, a place without hunger or war, where love did not fade. He told her stories of trees that whispered secrets and clouds that carried messages between souls. She told him about the world of mortals, of pain and joy, of firewood and laughter, of grief and growth. They were two pieces of a puzzle never meant to meet, but they did, and love, like the river, carved a path through anything that stood in its way. One evening, as the horizon bled orange and gold, Obina said, "There is a way I can come closer, but it is dangerous. For you, for me." Adana looked into his eyes and whispered, "Tell me." He knelt by the water and pulled from the folds of his robe a small gourd, etched with symbols that shimmered faintly in the twilight. "If you drink this, your soul will open. You will see me fully, not just with your eyes, but with your spirit. You will walk beside me, if only for a night." Adana's heart pounded. "Will I return?" Obina's eyes darkened. "Only if you choose to." She took the gourd in trembling hands. "Then I choose to see." And as the moon rose over the river, Adana drank. The world spun, the trees melted into light, and the river sang a song she had never heard before. Obina took her hand, and together they stepped into a realm of mist and magic, the place where love, against all odds, dared to live. The mist parted like a curtain, and Adana gasped. Before her lay a world unlike anything she had ever known. Skies of violet gold, trees with glowing leaves that whispered ancient lullabies, and rivers that shimmered with stardust instead of water. The ground beneath her feet pulsed gently, as though the land itself breathed. "Where are we?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Obina turned to her, his eyes glowing brighter than ever. "This is the realm between worlds. Few mortals have ever seen it. Fewer still have walked here." He reached for her hand. "But you were born with a soul that listens. That's why the river spoke to you. Why I found you." Adana felt weightless, not only in her body, but in her heart. Here, there was no fear, no shame, no whispers of disapproval. Only the two of them. Only truth all around them. Music floated, not played by instruments, but rising from the very air. A sound that spoke of love, older than time. Flowers bloomed where their feet touched. Stars danced low across the sky, as if blessing their union. Then, without warning, beings began to appear. Tall, graceful spirits of light and shadow, neither men nor beasts. They bowed their heads in silence and circled the lovers. A deep hum filled the air. Adana clutched Obina's arm. "Who are they?" "My kin," he said. "They've come to witness." "To witness what?" Obina turned to her, his expression solemn and full of longing. "Our joining." Adana's heart skipped. "Marriage?" He nodded. "In your world, marriage is a promise of loyalty and love. In mine, it is a weaving of souls. If you choose me, truly choose me, our spirits will entwine forever." She hesitated. "And what happens to me? Will I remain in this world?" "No," he said. "The bond will fade by sunrise, but a part of you will always belong to me, as I will always belong to you." Adana looked around at the glowing trees, the silent spirits, the realm that pulsed with forgotten power. Then she looked at Obina. "I was born into a world where love must follow rules," she said. "But my heart, it knows only truth." She stepped forward. "I choose you." The spirits began to hum louder. Obina raised his arms, and light poured from his palms, forming a circle of golden flame around them. The wind carried their names into the sky. The trees bowed. The river in this world sang louder than ever. Adana felt warmth enter her chest. Not like fire, but like light. It spread through her body, filled her soul, and when she looked at Obina again, she saw him as he truly was. A being of love, timeless and tender, wrapped in the veil of eternity. They embraced beneath the floating stars, and in that moment, nothing else existed. They were not spirit and mortal, not man and woman. Only soul and soul. They remained in the realm until the edge of dawn approached. The spirits faded into mist. The light dimmed. Obina looked at her, his face torn between joy and sorrow. "It is time," he said softly. Adana nodded. "Well, I remember this." "Not with your mind," he replied. "But your soul will never forget." With one final kiss, he held her close. Then the world around her began to dissolve, not vanish, but blend into her. She awoke by the riverbank. Alone, but something had changed. She felt it in her heartbeat, in the way the wind wrapped around her. In the whispers of the trees, her skin glowed faintly for days after. Her eyes sparkled like morning dew. The villagers noticed. "She's different," they said. "She walks like she carries a secret." And then, weeks later, Adana discovered the truth. She was with child, a child not just of the flesh, but of spirit. A seed born of two worlds. She stood by the river, both afraid and elated, her hands on her belly. "Obina, did not return that day or the next, but the wind that brushed her cheek carried his voice. I am with you, always. As Adana's belly grew, so did the distance between her and her people. The village, once merely curious about her long walks by the river, now turned cold. Whispers followed her like shadows. Eyes stared with suspicion. Children were pulled away when she passed. No one knew the father. No one dared ask again. But the rumors, ... They filled every hut, every market stall. She lies with spirits, they muttered. She has opened herself to things not meant for this world. She is cursed. Her father, once proud and stern, could no longer lift his head among the elders. Her mother wept until her voice gave out. The midwives refused to help her. The priest refused to bless her. But Adana, though afraid, did not hide. She still walked the river path, still sang to the water, still listened for Obina. Yet, he did not come. She called his name beneath the stars. She wept into the earth. She waited for his glowing figure to step from the mist. But the river remained silent, and the pain of silence from the man she loved, from the spirit she had trusted with her soul, was sharper than any word from Larsk. When word from Lagersperius, texture that glides on smoothly, and leaves a rich, long-lasting color. But the river remained. Sias made sighs, and the pain of silence, and the pain of Silas. We get salasilla, we is slide. We were sigh, they're sillet. They are remiss. We are submiss, we are supplayed, to like their ad. Pride up. Cud by we all side by all us of the fall it the sit sick it skip epi consat to set it is sit to be sass it to glib it sit capabletic possess it sus it to be this but it's it let's they speak it pup we speak it's this is good but we weapons pop the villagers. One night, during a gathering under the baobab tree, the elders stood and declared her tainted. She has brought a child of no known blood. One of them boomed. She has broken the sacred balance between the seen and unseen. Let her be left to her path. Let no hands help her. Let the gods decide. No one argued. Even her mother turned her face away. Alone and heavy with child, Adana labored in the small hut at the edge of the village. No fire was lit. No songs were sung. Only the cries of a girl becoming a mother and the wind pressing at the walls like a mourner. And then, just as her cries reached their peak, the world shifted. A silence fell, not emptiness, but reverence. The baby was born. The child's skin shimmered faintly, even in the dark. His eyes, pale blue like moonlit water, opened wide, as if he remembered everything before he took his first breath. He did not cry. He simply stared at his mother, and Adana, exhausted, broken, and yet reborn, wept as she held him. The villagers, drawn by something they could not name, crept toward the hut at dawn. One by one, they peered inside, and what they saw shook them. A baby glowing softly. A mother smiling through her tears. A presence in the air that made them bow their heads. Without knowing why, one elder fell to his knees. "This is no curse," he whispered. "This child is not an abomination. He is a bridge." Whispers spread like fire through the village. A spirit child. A gift from the river. A child of both worlds. They no longer turned away from Adana. They no longer spat in the dust where she walked. But still, Obina did not come. Days passed. Then, weeks, she whispered to the river every morning. Told their child stories of his father. Laid the boy's tiny hand in the water, hoping it would call him nothing until one morning. Just before sunrise, when the village still slept, and the world glowed with soft blue light, Adana heard her name carried on the wind. She turned, and there he was, Obinna, no longer cloaked in mist, no longer hidden across the river. He stood before her, eyes full of sorrow and wonder. "I felt him," he said, voice trembling. His birth echoed through both realms. Adana clutched their son to her chest, her heart torn between joy and ache. "Why didn't you come?" she asked. "I tried," he said, stepping closer. But the veil thickened. "The world began to reject me. Our bond opened a gate, and now? The gate demands a price." She shook her head. "You vanished when I needed you most." "I know," he whispered. "And I will carry that sorrow for all time." Then he looked down at the child, who stared at him, not with fear, not with confusion, but with recognition. Obinna knelt, placing a trembling hand on the boy's forehead. "My son," he said, "half of me and half of everything I love." But the earth began to hum beneath their feet. The mist rose, pulling at his robes. The spirit realm was calling him back. "I cannot stay," he said, standing. "No," Adana cried. "You just returned, don't leave again. I stay." Obinna said softly, "This world will reject me. And worse, it may reject him." "What do you mean?" "The boy must choose the mortal world. Let him live here. Let him grow. If I stay, he will never belong in either world. But if I leave, he may belong in both." Adana's hands trembled. Her heart ached. But deep within her, a truth rang. Clear, she nodded. Obinna stepped forward, touched her face once more. "I will watch him from the veil. I will whisper to his dreams. And when he is old, he will find me again." And with one final kiss on his son's forehead, he vanished. Like smoke, like mist, like a breeze through the leaves. Years passed. The child, whom Adana named Nello, meaning love remembers, grew under the golden skies of the village that once rejected his mother. He was quiet, thoughtful, and wise beyond his years. His skin no longer shimmered, but his presence carried a stillness that made even the birds pause their songs at night. He dreamed of rivers that sang, trees that whispered, and a man with pale eyes calling him son. By the age of 7, he could sense the emotions of others without a word. By 10, he could calm a crying baby with a touch. By 12, he began seeing things, flickers of light, shadows that moved. Voices in wind. The elders watched closely. They said, "This child walks in two worlds." But it was his mother's voice that shaped him. She never told him to hide. She never told him to fear. Instead, she told him stories of love that defied the gods, of spirits who watched from the veil, of a man who vanished at dawn, but never truly left. Adana, too, had changed. No longer the girl who wandered the river alone, she had become a woman of respect. The villagers called her the river seer. Some brought her offerings. Others came seeking counsel. Her eyes seemed to know things they shouldn't. Her words often felt like echoes of an older wisdom, and every dawn, she still walked to the river, alone, waiting, hoping. Then one morning, just as the fog rolled thick across the water, Adana felt it. The shift, the stillness, the heartbeat of another world. Brushing against hers, she turned, and there he was. Obinna, not as mist, not as memory, but whole. He looked older, wearier, as though the veil had cost him, but his eyes still held the love of 1,000 lifetimes. "Nello," he whispered. Adana called her son. Nello came, now nearly a man, tall and steady. When he saw the figure beside his mother, he did not flinch. "I know you," he said. Obinna nodded. "I have watched you." They sat together, father and son, as the sun began to rise for the first time, and for the last. "I came to see you once more," Obinna said, "to pass on what I must." and then let go. He held out a small, glowing stone, a charm etched with ancient symbols. This will allow you to hear me when the world is silent, to remember the path if you ever need it. Nello took the charm and closed his fist around it. Can you stay? Kaya's smile was sad. The world of flesh no longer accepts me. If I remain, I will fade, and so might you. Adana stepped forward, heart trembling. So this is goodbye. Obina reached for her hand. Not goodbye, just a closing of the door. He kissed her hand, then Nello's forehead. Then he stepped back into the mist. This time, he did not vanish all at once. He walked slowly into the river, and as his figure faded, the wind whispered, "Love has no walls, only doors." And then he was gone. Forever now grew to be a man of great wisdom. He healed the sick, calmed the restless, and became a bridge between the old and new. Villagers from far away came to hear him speak. He taught that the unseen was not to be feared, but to be honored. Adana grew old beside him, her eyes still sharp, her heart still strong. People said she never married again. They were wrong. She was already married, not to a man of this world, but to a love that existed beyond it. One day, as the sun set, Nello found her by the river, carving something into the bark of an old tree. "What are you writing?" he asked. She smiled softly. Names. He stepped closer. Carved into the bark were 3 words: Adana, Obina, Nelo, and beneath it, a single line: born of love, bound by spirit. Thank you for watching this mystical African folktale. If it touched your heart, if it stirred your spirit, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories from the heart of the continent. African Folktales, timeless, emotional, unforgettable.